Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Trash Talk. This is the show where we talk trash about whatever I want to talk about. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge, and with me, once again, returning guest, Lon. Lon, say hi to the kids.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Good to see you all.
So, Lon, you've been on the show a few times, and you've been on my podcast network, Only Stupid Answers, a few times. But for those that might not be familiar, who are you? What do you do?
Great question. My name's Lon. I used to work in a lot of different digital media in the nerd culture and sort of progressive liberal media space. I wrote for Screen Junkies and a show called Some More News. I created a PBS digital series called Frankenstein MD. But now I work for an investment company called Launch and its owner, Jason Calacanis, and I produce his podcast, This Week in Startups.
Wow, Frankenstein MD threw me back because I believe that's the connective tissue of how we know each other, because you worked with Steve on that.
Correct.
And that's how that connection happened. There you go, a little backstory, everybody.
There you go.
Well, Lon, I like having you on every few months to just like catch up with what's
not more often than that. Every few months at least.
Well, it's that. I mean, because you're one of my most regular guests at this point, and it's mostly because I don't want to overestimate people's time commitment to
Right.
guesting on my stupid little show.
I'm a very busy man. I'm a very busy man.
But I like to touch base. One, because you're my friend, and I like touching base with you. But two, because you having you on the show allows me an opportunity to spread my wings a little bit and talk about stuff that interests me, but that doesn't necessarily, which is kind of the modus operandi of this show. For those that aren't familiar, I have my podcast network, Only Stupid Answers. We talk about pop culture stuff, movies, TV shows, comic books.
Right.
This show, Trash Talk, allows me an opportunity to talk about other stuff that interests me, but doesn't necessarily fall under that umbrella. And Lon, specifically, like last time you were on, I think we were talking about hypernormalization.
We did,
and so many things are happening all the time. And I always think, wow, I need to have Lon on to talk about this. And what we're going to do now is the new year. God damn it. It's the new year. And we're going to be talking about our predictions. We're going to be talking about 2026 and what's happening and what we think might be happening. But every episode, I like to start my guest off by asking them what they're into. And specifically with you, I know when I reached out to you, you were out of town.
Yes. I went... and I did not realize very far in advance that I was going to be going. I found out like a week before Christmas. My boss was like, hey, and I knew that we were he's got a program called Founder University that is like, we help founders, early stage founders who are just getting started in their startup, who maybe aren't ready to start pitching venture capital firms. They're maybe, very just getting the idea for the company together.
Yeah.
And he helps them kind of with that very early, like the first 5 things you would have to do when you start a company, because he was an angel investor and he was seeing a lot of pitches and realizing like these guys might do something great one day, but they don't understand the fundamentals because not everybody does. Like, that's not a thing they teach you in like high school, like what to do to start a company. Maybe they should, but they don't.
Yeah.
So that's why he started this thing. He's been doing it in the United States for a long time. And then just recently, he started doing international versions. And so in collaboration with the Tokyo government or the Japanese government, this group called JETRO, he started doing Founder University Tokyo this year. And then so 1 week before Christmas, he was like, in January, we're going to go and sort of launch it for this week. I want to do the podcast that I work on. I want to do the podcast from Tokyo that week. So you should come along with me. So I went to Tokyo, Japan for about 11 days.
Oh, my goodness. Was this your first time in Japan?
Oh, yeah. First time. I mean, I've been to South America. I went to Peru once. I've been to the UK, and I've been to like the Caribbean and Mexico, like the I Live in California international stuff.
Yes.
But this was my first ever time in Asia, and then specifically Japan as well. Yeah. And it's amazing. It is an amazing place, and it's a crazy thing to see as an American because it's so different.
So you were specifically based in Tokyo?
Yeah, I was in central Tokyo, and actually, my and I was staying in a hotel that was actually attached to it's this big complex called Arc Hills, and that's also where the JETRO offices were, which is where we were doing the podcast and the Founder University. So I was like right there in this place called Minato City, which is like think like the downtown LA of Tokyo. Like it's a lot of big
Okay.
offices and it's where a lot of people work. But then at night, it kind of clears out. And it is right next to this area called Roppongi, which is where there's tons of bars and nightclubs and restaurants. So it's like all the people who work in, Asakasa, this place where Minato City is, where I was staying, they like all walk to Roppongi right up the street. And that's where you go like drink after work.
So here's my main when I think about Tokyo, right? And my experiences with Tokyo, which I've never been. I'm thinking Tokyo Vice. I'm thinking Enter the Void.
Yeah,
How similar are those things?
I was always just thinking purely, and like anime, like I'm always thinking purely of the media from, because I love Japanese movies and TV. So yes, that was always my frame of reference. It's pretty accurate. I mean, we went to Shibuya Crossing, which is like very frequently depicted in media. That's where like everybody's crossing the street in every direction. And it's like Times Square, but that's the thing. All of our reference points are like New York is like a mega city.
Yeah.
I'm no offense. I love New York. I love Manhattan, but like Manhattan's this little island of skyscrapers. And then there's like other boroughs that are sort of spread out. There's residential areas and stuff. You can't understand what a 33 million person mega city is until you're in Tokyo. It's unbelievable. It's like, because it used to be Edo, Japan, the feudal capital of Japan.
Yeah.
So it's designed like there's an imperial palace. It's right where Tokyo Tower is today. And then the streets leading up to it, it was designed to like repel invaders. So the streets are all like crazy crooked and like up and down. And like it's the opposite of a grid system. Which you realize, like all American cities, like New York is like those really big boulevards and like those big long blocks. This is like everything is an alley and huge buildings on both sides, like 9, 12-story buildings. And every floor, every place in those buildings is a different store. Somebody's living there. It's like, it's something. And it just goes on forever in every direction. It's like Coruscant. Like that's the only reference point I had is it's like, you're like, oh, I'm in Coruscant, where this just goes on. It's an endless city. It's so different. That's what's fascinating to see. Like I've seen people like Tucker Carlson had this whole rant where it was like, you go to Tokyo and you realize how nice our cities could be. And what aren't we like that? And it's like, culturally, this would never fly. Like the whole thing is so rules based. Like they don't litter. And like one of the rules is, this was crazy to me. You can't eat or drink anything while you're walking around. Like even sipping coffee, it's like rude. So like that really cuts down on like food. People, there aren't food wrappers. Like everybody's got their food in a bag and they're waiting until they sit down somewhere. They go inside. It's just like, there's no enforcement to this. It's just everybody's on the same page because that's what they're, that's what the Japanese are like. They're very into collectivism and like there's a million rules apparently. And like, big dumb American oafs like myself get away with it. They're like, he's going home soon. It doesn't matter. But like for them, they just all follow all the rules all the time. And it does make, as a visitor, as an American, you're just like, how does this even work? Like everybody, like where I was staying, there was a Starbucks right there. And the food's better, but it tastes just like an American Starbucks in terms of like the coffee writer. But people will just leave their laptops like on the table and like go get a drink and go to the bathroom or go outside and take a phone call. And like, no, there's no like, oh, somebody's going to take. I watched this happen over and over again in amazement because in America, imagine if you left your laptop just on a table service and went outside.
Yeah.
That's gone. That I wouldn't even go back and look for it. I would just like, well, so long for that laptop. Too much for that laptop. It's clearly gone. Like in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Not even, no chance. Even in a nice neighborhood of Los Angeles, that laptop is gone.
And obviously every culture has their issues, but I wouldn't mind a sense of collective interest. Like we all have the same understanding of reality and our cultural expectations of each other.
Yeah, like we're all in this together. Like let's not litter and ruin our beautiful city. Like man, America, we just don't work that way. I'll give you one more example, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
In the restroom of the place where I was working, this office building, there was a sign over the trash can that said in both Japanese and English, please roll your paper towels up into a tiny ball before you throw them in the trash can. Otherwise, it might overflow, and this will save space. Like, it even explained
Yeah.
the logic. And then
Yeah.
obviously, I rolled up my paper towel into a little ball, and I looked in the trash can. All perfect little balls. Everyone followed the rule. In America, not only would people ignore that sign, they would rip it down. Like, they wouldn't even last a day.
Yeah, they'd be angry at the sign. Yeah, they would like, this sign is infringing upon my freedoms.
Right. It would be like, fuck this sign. And like, they would throw the sign away, or worse. And I just, like, that to me summed up the whole experience. Like, that's like, not only is the sign perfect and still up on the wall, everybody is listening to what the sign.
Listening to the sign. Must be nice. All right. Well, listen, maybe all travel to Tokyo someday.
And go get izakaya, and it's delicious.
Yeah. Do it up. But now it's time to get in 2026. How we think 2026 is going to play out, because 2025 was so predictable. And we're going to start off. Listen, we're going to start off in a safe space for you and I, Lon. We're going to be talking about some pop culture stuff. Okay.
Oh, good.
We're going to be talking about. Yeah, we're going to start. We're going to ease in. All right, and we're going to talk about this Netflix WB merger. And we talked a little bit about this on the main show, Only Stupid Answers. And here's the highlights, Lon, of those discussions, where everybody, the comments and stuff, and of course, you probably saw on social media, people are like, well, Netflix is better than Paramount. And and while I understand and agree with the sentiment, it does feel like it's doing some legwork in justifying the Netflix situation of this at all. No. And I am of the opinion, like, I don't even want to go that far, because I also think Netflix buying WB is also bad, I think, is my stance.
I mean, the ground truth, I think, that you've struck on that is correct, I think, is that best case scenario would be this does not happen at all. Warner Brothers remains independent. I think a lot of artists and directors and filmmakers have already pointed this out. More buyers is better for everybody in terms of both competitiveness and being able to make more money in commensurate amounts, and with creativity and variety in the marketplace. Like, you want there to be more buyers for more different kinds of films and TV projects, and the more that you collect all of these decisions in a few hands, the less variety we're going to get, and that lets them price control. So, like, the less they have to pay creative artists for their work, because there's less, fewer competitors in the market. So that's definitely true. Now, I used to feel like if you had asked me a few years ago, would you rather Netflix or Paramount get their hands on WB? I would have said Paramount in an instant, of course.
Yes.
Because it's a creative studio. They're already making that kind of product, and I trust them to protect the theatrical experience, protect physical media, all the things that I love. You can see physical media behind me. And I don't trust Netflix on either of those grounds. But the Ellisons are the factor here. There's two factors here. One is, I think the Ellisons are trash, and I think David Ellison is honestly a pathetic figure to be, like, being in his 40s and his father just buying him a career, and he's not a successful man on his own. He latched onto Tom Cruise and produced a lot of already popular franchise movies that are clearly the creative product of Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie and all those other people. Not David Ellison is the key that I'm getting across here. And now he's latched himself onto his dad's wallet, and he's just buying properties to run. And it's pathetic. Like, I'm not one of these, like, ooh, everybody's a Nepo baby. Like, Jack Quaid is great. I got no problem with him. Very talented guy. Don't care. Like, Kate Hudson does not bother me in the least. She's great. No problems with those people. But this guy's not doing anything of value, and he's gobbling up all of Hollywood, and it's gross, and I don't like it. And the Barry White CBS News stuff, it's just like, they're a garbage company now. I don't want them to get their hands on anything else, let alone CNN and all of these other
and that's
amazing properties. I think you have to factor that in. And so, with all that in consideration, I think Netflix is probably the lesser of two both evils. Like, it's not good. And I don't trust Netflix to protect the theatrical experience. I do believe Ted Sarandos sees movie theaters as a competitor for people's time and viewership, and that he'd rather movie theaters didn't exist. And certainly he'd rather physical media didn't exist. And he's going to do everything he can as head of Warner Brothers to block that stuff out. I have no doubt about that at all.
But they promised. Lon, they promised 40
I mean,
day window or something, I think is where we're at now, which I was like, is 40 day? Because it was
yeah,
like 17 day. I'm like, is
right.
40 days supposed to be
I do.
good?
I think to me, there is one glint of hope for theaters in all this, which is I do feel like, and I mean, maybe I'm cynical. I do feel like at some point, the death of first run movies being the driving force behind movie theaters is probably going away. I
Yeah.
think that there are certain experiences and films that gets a lot of a cross generational, cross quadrant, gets people
Yeah.
excited enough to go to theaters. Like those clearly exist.
Yeah.
Barbenheimer, the Minecraft movie, like those,
Yeah.
Super Mario, like those exist. Five Nights at Freddy's. You can think
Yeah.
of a lot of examples. But I do think that movie theaters are sort of inevitably going to shift to things like, anime and the Stranger Things finale and revival screenings, like nostalgia
Yeah.
screenings and stuff. I feel like movie theaters could sort of shift the model a bit and be more like, there's a variety of different kinds of things playing at the theater rather than just first run movies. And I think that might be the way forward. And I don't know if Netflix can single handedly kill that, even if they own WB. I think if that became popular enough, they might be forced to put some of their stuff in theaters because there's a growing market there.
Well, and stuff like K-pop Demon Hunters, which started on Netflix and then jumped to
Exactly.
theaters because it was so popular and all that stuff. And I should note to your point that I worked at Barnes and Noble for a long time. That's actually where I met my wife. And I remember when I was
also
there,
previously worked at Barnes and Noble.
yeah, and I remember, and it's probably similar, where it's like, well, this is a sinking ship, right? Because of Amazon and ebooks and everything. Barnes and Noble's still around, man. Like I've now discovered that is you talk about physical media. Like once, Best Buy and Target and everybody stopped carrying Blu-rays, I'm like, where am I going to get stuff? And Barnes and Noble has now become kind of my spot to like find things still,
Yeah, sure.
And they pivot a little bit. They started carrying it, point being, to your point, that I agree in that I do not think the theatrical experience is going away. I do think, like a lot of things, it is going to go through a tough time.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a recurring theme in this conversation. Things are going to be tough for a while, but it'll find a new.
I sort of compare it to bowling alleys. Like I feel like in the 50s and 60s, at least my understanding of it, there were lots more bowling alleys. That was a more common pastime, especially for like teenagers. Like even Grease 2, there's a whole musical number about how much they love to go bowling. And I feel like that doesn't even by the 90s, that had sort of dried up. And it's not that bowling alleys went away. There's just fewer of them, and you got to drive a little further to get to one. And I think that's where movie theaters are going. They used to be everywhere. Like even a smaller town would have 2 or 3 in the area. But like now I feel like, okay, it'll just shrink, not disappear. And there'll be fewer options, but there will still be movie theaters. And I think even like Netflix has these Netflix house installations. Like there's one in King of Prussia Mall in Pennsylvania. I think Dallas has one, Vegas. And a lot of them have movie theaters, like a one screening room in them where they show Netflix stuff. And I feel like exactly, like there'll be different kinds of theatrical experiences all over the place. And some of it'll be for, it's a Ghostbusters 1 and 2 double feature. And some of it will be for, it's the latest anime movie that's maybe a little niche, but has a diehard audience that'll show up for it. I think all that stuff is coming. And a lot of that stuff is appealing to kids. But my biggest concern is, there's a lot of stats out there that are like, Gen Z actually is seeing more movies. And that's true, but I feel like they're movies that are tied into IP that those kids like, aside from being movies. It's Minecraft or Five Nights at Freddy's, or it's some other, like there's some anime franchise they've been watching on streaming that has a movie coming out. Like Demon Slayer was just that movie that everybody liked. And so I feel like that's a concern, that it used to be movie properties were driving the theatrical experience. And now I feel like that's increasingly rare. Like Odyssey will probably be a breakout this summer. Yeah. But like that's increasingly rare. Jordan Peele movies always seem to hit. But, like I think increasingly it's like if something's a hit, it's because it's a pre-existing IP that people like, and now there's a movie.
Well, it's kind of like to that point. Last night I watched that new Netflix movie with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, The
The
Rip.
Rip.
I think every time I watch a Netflix movie like that, I'm kind of like, what? This used to just be a movie, man. Like you used to be able to. This would just be Friday night. Rip's coming out, and
Yeah, Jim
like
Carnahan
maybe
used to make movies that went to theaters, and you went to see Smoking Aces on the big screen for sure.
Yeah, everybody's favorite.
I went
Smoking
to see
Aces.
Smoking Aces on the big screen. I don't know about you.
Let me ask you this.
Fan. I love Narc, and I was like, I'll see it.
I don't think I've seen Narc. I see Carnahan as kind of a mixed bag. I would probably like Narc.
Oh,
I didn't dislike The Rip.
Narc is, it might still be his best movie. Narc is awesome, and it's one of Ray Liotta's best performances ever.
I think a better, maybe a better example that kind of like speaks to this question is, it was when my son was born. Jeremy Saulnier's latest film, I think he's got a deal with Netflix, but Rebel Ridge came out, and I'm like, oh my God, I should have seen this in theaters. I wish this was like, this
I
would have
love to
been
have seen Rebel Ridge in theaters. It was amazing.
In a different era, man. I mean, God bless him, Aaron Pierre's being Jon Stewart. He's got plenty of roles lined up, but it's like this, in a better world, this would have made this guy a mega star. Because
it's really killer. Saulnier is super underrated. I saw Blue Ruin at Sundance, at like a late night screening at Sundance. And I was blown away. I was like, this guy's the new guy. Like, everybody's
well, I just rewatched Green Room, and it's like, this movie still rips. It's still fucking awesome.
He's so good. He's so good.
But do you think that this is part of Ted Sarandos? Like the reason Netflix is buying Warner Brothers is in part to kill them. Like kill
theaters
to kill theaters. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, maybe that's conspiratorial of me, but yes, I think, because if you see, he brings this up all the time in interviews where he's like slighting the theatrical film. People don't really care that much about the most recent one was
my son watched Lawrence of Arabia on his phone. I'm like,
just the other day he said in some interview, like, I don't think people are willing to drive to the next town to go to a movie theater. And it's like, one, of course they are. That's a long-standing tradition in the world. But two, his agenda, I think, couldn't be more clear. That he sees it's like what's competing for people's time, leisure time. Like, what are all the other things that? And I don't think he sees mobile phones or mobile apps as a threat, because you use those while you're watching Netflix. Like, he knows people are on their phone distracted. He doesn't give a shit about that. So it's like, what's actually taking them away from the couch and away from watching Netflix? And I think it's like, well, movie theaters, that's a big obvious one.
Well, we could keep going on this because we haven't even touched on...
you would think about, well, what's one of the other big ones? Video games. Well, they make video games now. So you can play video games on Netflix. So that's not... Netflix. You can tell that's how he's thinking about it.
Yeah. Because we haven't even touched on, is HBO going to get sucked into Netflix or any of that stuff? We haven't even touched on any of that.
I mean, I think so. Exactly.
Okay, so here's where the prediction part comes in. As far as I understand it, this deal, because these deals take a long time. My understanding is this deal is supposed to happen sometime this year. Do we think it's going to happen?
I do. I think as always with President Crimes, it's like he loses interest, and like he's easy to bribe. Like I can't. I think there was a time where he was like, oh, yeah, the Ellisons getting their hands on CNN. That'd be a good one. I think he's beyond the point of even caring about that at this point. Like, I think he's gone mad. I think that's important context here. Like, he's demented as fuck. And like, I don't think he makes a lot of rational sense. So you have to like factor that in. Like, I think a more calculating, like a year or two ago, Donald Trump would have been like, I can't wait to get rid of CNN and make it mine. And now he's like mad at, Norway. And so he wants to invade Denmark. Like, I think he's just lost it completely. So
talking about would the Ellisons be able to pull strings and stuff like that? I think I agree with you. Who's going to?
I think they overplayed their hand. The other thing I was going to bring this up. The other thing people aren't talking about so much that I think Netflix understands, and that's why they keep projecting these offers, is Paramount would have to go into an insane. Paramount's not a healthy company, and it's smaller than Warner Brothers. So the amount it's like taking investment from like a bunch of the Saudis and Qatar and it's taking their money so that it can buy WB, and then it would have to pay that back somehow. And it's like, with what? Like, Warner
Yeah.
Brothers isn't exactly like a cash cow. They'd be buying all these cable networks that are dying. And
Yeah.
like, Ellison's not some wizard who's going to figure out like, he's an idiot.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
So they're just, it would be buying them, and then we'd wait a few years, and then the whole thing would collapse anyway.
yeah, yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think I don't. You think Trump is in a position playing the calculus that that he'll help the Ellisons out and make this happen. I think this will probably go through. I know the unions are kind of rattling their sabers about it for as much good as that's going to do.
What can they do? I mean, I say that WGA member, like, it gives me no pleasure to say that, but like, they can't do anything. They can't stop.
So I think this is something we'll probably return back to with a lot of this stuff. Is like, okay, so how do we get out of we're talking about a lot of not good things. How do we navigate our way out of the not good things after they've happened? Like, once Warner Brothers goes away, what are options to do better things? How do we?
I listen. Here's it's sort of like what I was saying about movie theaters. Like, here's my slight optimism, old man take. It's all going away. You have to accept that in your heart.
Yeah.
All these media that we grew up loving, that we assumed would be around forever, like, they're already kind of old man shit, like, a little bit. The kids care about scrolling and apps and video games, and like, they're going to care about hanging out with their virtual friends, and all sorts of stuff we can't even conceive of right now is coming. And we're going to think most of it is like slop and garbage, and we won't understand it. But people who are between the ages of like 2 and 10 today are going to love it. And like, that's going to be their culture. But the optimistic part is, our stuff's never going to go away entirely. We'll always have it. There'll always be a market. There's enough of us that fondly remember movies and TV shows that I don't think it ever goes away. I think we're always able to delight in it. And if we want to show our grandkids and our, and that's that. And like, I think we have to, it's like vinyl, like you can still listen to records if you want. Like, if you were alive in the 60s and you remember that era and the 70s, and like, you can still light up a doob and put on a vinyl record and listen to, like, that exists.
Yeah.
We can't take that away from them. It's not an ongoing thing that young people are into today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the distinction I make is because that's more of a medium of of a way to ingest that art form, and as opposed to, like, I guess you could make that argument with movies and TVs that's
well, but I would say the album, like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As opposed to singles and stuff like that.
I don't think young people really have that. They're like Brat was an album. Taylor Swift comes out with albums, but I even think it's now seen as like an era. Like, it's just like, well, it's not like an album. It's like, well, that was Taylor in her blank era, and now she's changed to a different era. Like, even that is overtaken. The album itself is like the definitive form. Like, when I was a kid, that was what artists released, albums, and you considered it as an like OK Computer. I didn't even know the names of the individual tracks for like a year. It was just
because you were just listening to the album,
right?
Yeah,
and then later I was like, oh, Airbag, I like that one.
Yeah. To that point, though, I think the other thing is, because I can imagine some of the pushback I would have if I were listening to this episode and this conversation. And I think another thing to consider is that there is an element of this where there's certain people, the C-suite crowd that is trying to push a certain consumer model on to us, and that does not necessarily mean we'll take. Which is not to say that because you're 100% right in that things change, things end. Like the stuff that movies as we understand them might not be the future, but that does not necessarily mean that the future is whatever AI slop thing they're trying to be a thing. You know what I mean? There's
not. I hope something else will come along and be the thing that the next generation is into. I don't think. I mean, I think AI in some ways is inevitable. I do think there
Yeah.
are a lot of applications for this technology that, like it or leave it, we're stuck with now.
Yeah.
But I don't think necessarily like, well, one day AI is going to make our TV shows. Like, clearly not. I think,
Yeah.
if
And it's not.
anything, it would be some new format that people use AI for that we haven't explored yet. It's never going to be like Seinfeld, but made by an AI. It honestly doesn't make sense. That's not how it
Well,
works.
let's use that as our transition to talking about AI. And the question we're trying to answer for 2026 is: are we all going to get nuked Skynet style? No, I'm kidding. Because there's been a lot of discussion about, a lot of concern about, AI is taking everybody's jobs, which I think has not proven. I don't know that's not. Let me phrase it this way: my concern is not AI is going to take everybody's jobs. My concern is that the valuation for this stuff is impossibly high, and
Yeah,
there's not been
I
a
think
case model for it to make enough money to prove profitable.
right.
And so I'm worried that when the AI bubble bursts, that's going to be very bad for our economy. That's where my
Yeah,
concern
I mean,
lies.
I just think people need to, even referring to all of these technologies as AI, I think
Yes.
muddied the issue. Like, if I was
No,
a,
possibly intentionally show and
yeah, no,
intentionally so.
like
Yeah.
if I was a truck driver, if I
Yeah.
worked in a factory, like in Tokyo, one of the companies that we were working with or mentoring or what have you, they make robots that take over for people at a bread factory. And at this
Mm.
particular bread factory, the people who worked there, because of they were in a union, they were making like six figures or close to it a year with full benefits and everything. Like, it was a good job to
Yeah.
work for a few years at this bread factory. But one of these bread making robots can take over for like 10 of those guys. So if you think about it, they're saving like $1 million plus a year by
Yeah.
replacing guys with that. So if I worked in a bread factory, I would be like, shit, like that's
Yeah.
bad. Like, that's going to wipe those guys out. And truck
Yeah.
drivers too, like in China, they already have self-driving trucks because like in cities, self-driving is still kind of hard. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
rules and they got to make the cars pretty smart. On long haul truck driving, it's like driving a straight line for 100 miles. Like, it's
Yeah.
in China, they're already doing it. So like, if I was a long haul truck driver, I'd be like, fuck. So
Yeah.
I do think there are categories of jobs where I would be concerned. Like, even a taxi driver, I would be like, if I drove Uber, I'd be like, in 5 years, they're probably going to figure this out to the point that they can replace me. Like, I'm at this point a believer that self-driving cars are basically going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
it's happening in LA, it's happening in Vegas, it's happening in Austin. They're going to fine tune it, but I've been in those things, and I've been in a Waymo many times, and I've never been in an incident at all. Like,
Yeah.
it works. But then there's all sorts of other stuff that I don't think it's ever going to replace, or at least not soon. Like, there was another company that we were working with where it was like, an AI can be your immigration lawyer. And like, there's tons of apps that are like,
No.
we're going to teach your kid. Like, there was one that was like, we're going to teach your autistic kid using AI and or like AI for therapy. And it's like, this is all a bad idea. Like,
Yeah.
the technology is not good at those things. It's not anywhere close to being ready to being able to actually be your whatever, your travel agent, your accountant, like, your radiologist. And it's like,
Yeah.
these are not ready for prime time ideas. So I think you have to like pick and choose. Like, it's going to take some jobs, but like everybody's job, like, not anytime soon. As for the other thing, clearly it's making money, and ChatGPT just introduced ads the other day, so that's going to be a
Yeah.
big cash cow for them. It's not like it's making no money, but it's
Yeah.
not nearly making enough to pay for these trillions of dollars in investment
Mhm.
in data centers. And not to mention that nobody likes living near data centers, and they're terrible for the local community, and they
Yeah.
don't really provide the jobs that people are, like, they provide a lot of construction jobs, but then they're constructed, and they
Yeah.
don't need a lot of people working for them because they're just basically a big warehouse for servers.
Yeah.
There's HVAC, so guys got to come change the filters, but like, you don't need 1,000 people to run a data center. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's we shouldn't be basing this much of our economy on data centers and generating power for those data centers. And it's very wasteful. And yeah, like they're betting money on a technology that doesn't really exist yet. Like we've
Yeah.
yet to see, like people love asking ChatGPT, like, look at this mole on my back. No argument. Like it's very popular. Kids love
Yeah.
using it to cheat on their homework. Lonely people like to pretend that they're married to it. Like
Yeah.
it's out there. People like it. I'm not denying that. But we haven't really found any kind of application beyond just talk to ChatGPT that
Yeah.
really seems to have captured the imagination. Like a lot of companies pay for Claude Code or whatever. Like there are uses, people are paying for it, but not nearly at the scale. They're counting on a future where we've all got like a in our ear all day virtual assistant that's all these data centers are running. Like that's the vision.
Yeah.
That's where being inside it, that's where they think this is going. That we're all going to have our own personal AI running all day. And that's why they're going to need data centers this size to run all those individual AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see that happening. I don't see that
It's
happening.
not here now.
No.
Like every time they try one of those, like it's your virtual pal, it's your virtual assistant, like a thin layer of weirdos gets way into it. But people don't want that. And it doesn't, the other thing is it doesn't work yet. Like
Yeah.
there are companies with like, oh, it's the AI pendant that listens to all your conversations. And it's like, there's no real use case for it yet. People don't want an AI chirping in their ear all day. They're not that smart or clever. Like there are upper limits to this whole language model technology.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not like there's not uses for it. Like, I make my thumbnails in Photoshop. There's now a new little thing where I can click on it and it says, here's the person in the photo. Do you want to separate them out? That's very helpful for me.
There's tons of examples. Have you used Notebook LM, that Google one?
No.
So you can put anything in it, a document, a YouTube video, a website, up to like 50 at a time.
Yeah.
And then it creates like a little AI model just based on whatever those sources are. So like if you put 50 YouTube videos, I could put 50 episodes of Trash Talk in there. And then I could ask it, what does DJ think about this comic book? And it would go through all of them and it would be like, oh, DJ talked about Daredevil in this episode. He says he likes it, but it's not his, like it would go find it for you. So like, whereas before you'd have to like look through all these videos and see if there's anything in context. Even if you had generated a transcript, you'd have to look through it. But now the AI will just search for it. And it's, right 99.99%. Sometimes it gets confused, but it's right almost all the time. And that, like, as a podcast producer, like if Jason's like, hey, last month I said something about Tesla, what was it? I could just pop those episodes into Notebook LM and be like, what did Jason say about Tesla? And when did he say it? And he'll tell me exactly. It's like, that's very helpful. Like you can't deny that that's super helpful. There's another one called Gamma. Shout out to Gamma. You can put in like any document, any notes, any whatever, and just say, generate like a PowerPoint style. It doesn't, PowerPoint's Microsoft, but you can say, generate like a slide presentation based on this, and it'll just do it. And like, you got to tweak it a little bit. But it's like almost all there in minutes. They'll just do it for you.
And this goes back, I do want to take a second to go back to kind of what we're talking about with Warner Brothers and Netflix, in that it makes me think about, there's a video that Hank Green did recently, and he was talking about New Year's and watching the ball drop in New York and how sad it seemed as opposed to years past. And he was feeling bummed about it, like we don't celebrate as a community anymore. And then somebody shared with him a video of there's a billboard in LA that counts the deaths that year from cigarette smoking.
Right. And it claps at the beginning of the year and it clicked over and people cheer. Yeah.
And people naturally, it's not like an event. It's not, nobody's putting it on. People just found like, this is a place, this is where we're going to go to celebrate. Mm-hmm. And kind of the conclusion he comes to is, there's all these systems that people build that they've tried to commodify, and they try to commodify us, and people always find a way to like do the more natural thing and do something that matters to them or whatever. And so when it comes to this AI stuff, when it comes to, I think there's a big, let me speak for myself. I feel this pressure of these forces trying to shape the world in a specific way that feels alien to me and that I do not like. Yeah. And what I have to remind myself is, That's going to go away too, man. Like that's the,
Yeah.
there's only human nature finds a way. It
I
pushes
mean,
through.
this is
Who
the
knows what
push
things are going to
pull
look like?
of capitalism, always.
Yeah.
It's like capitalists come along and commodify whatever the culture, whatever the people, whatever everyday people are doing.
Yeah.
They commodify it, they steal it, they market it, they commodify it, they sell it back to you.
Yeah.
But then people invent something new that has to be
Yeah.
commodified and resold. Like it's an endless cycle. And if it stopped, they wouldn't have anything to commodify anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
K-pop was this natural thing that grew up in Korea, and then the Koreans commodified it and turned it into this nightmare industry, and then we got it, and then we repackaged it and recommodified it, and now there's K-pop demon hunters. It's just like an endless cycle that started with something pure and real. I didn't know about it in its early days when it was real and pure, but I'm sure there was one. I'm sure if you're Korean, you probably know about the first sound that came out that sounded like that everybody got
the Big Bang of K-pop. But I guess because
I don't know what that was. I'm sure it existed.
You talked about, the kids will have their own things. That's not the stuff that, we're used to. I think what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid of whatever that thing is. Don't be afraid of what the kids come up with. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that
just feel
AI
like
is so
punk or rap or whatever.
There's something about AI too, like because it's trained on things that came before it, it's recycling stolen ideas and memes and stuff. Like it's sort of inherently self-aware, which sort of opens it up to parody and self-parody. Like Connor O'Malley already is doing like AI slop design to mock AI slop, and like he did that whole AI presentation that's full of that stuff. And I think like there's gonna be that, like there's gonna be people who find ways to undermine it by using it, and I think that could be like, you never know, and you never want to prejudge. Like, no, it's like I think creative people will use it creatively. It itself is never going to be creative. Like that's a lost dream. Like language models inherently can't produce creative or artistic work. They don't have sensory experience. They don't have imagination or creativity. It's just like, I think it's sort of metaphysically impossible.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, going back to the C-suite folks, it's the uncreative people trying to push a commodification of creativity that I don't think is going to hold the way they think it is.
They don't want to pay creative people. They don't have any respect for artists. They don't want to pay creative people. So, of course, that idea appeals to them, like a machine that can just generate IP and we don't have to pay anybody and we own it in perpetuity. And, how much would Stan Lee have loved a bunch of robots that could make up characters, and then he wouldn't have to steal them from the men and women who actually created them. And it's like, that's all AI is. It's just a whole industry full of Stan Lees looking to screw Steve Ditko's infinitely.
Stan Lee's, Walt Disney's, everybody. Shout out to, I don't know if it's still there, but there's a Jack Kirby exhibit at the Skirball. It's awesome. It's very cool.
Of course,
yeah, Jack Kirby was a cool dude.
Okay,
guy. So now that we're done with the fun stuff, Lon, who are we going to invade next? 2026.
Oh,
Lon,
wow,
I don't claim this. Sorry, I shouldn't say we. Our current president sent in people to kidnap a different president of Venezuela.
Yeah, and, it's crazy how little Americans think things out now. Like, I feel like this would have, even a few years ago, you would have had people on TV pointing out the obvious, which is if we say you can arrest a foreign nation's president if they break one of your laws.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of countries would be coming after a certain other president who's a well-known international criminal.
Like, yep.
It's like countries with criminal presidents shouldn't throw stones or whatever.
Well, it's one of those
crazy things that and if you flip around cable news or certainly CBS, like that's not even really being discussed as in terms of an international precedent. It's just assumed like, well, we have the right to do whatever we want because we're number one.
Dude, so that's the thing, man. That's the thing that I've been thinking about a lot because, obviously, 2016, 2024, there's a lot of like, this isn't who we are. And I'm like, actually, dude, I kind of think it's exactly who we are, which is the problem we're into where Trump is a great avatar of America in that you're just blundering his way through and everybody's like, Are we allowed to do something about this?
I
I
mean,
don't know. We've never done something about this person before.
he's quoting the Monroe Doctrine, which is from the
Yeah.
early 19th century. So it's not
Yeah.
like he made up these ideas. Like the
Yes.
idea that the Western Hemisphere is like, we own that and it's
Yeah.
ours, and any Europeans need to GTFO because that's our shit. Like, that he didn't invent that.
Yeah.
It's wild in
Yes.
2026 to be coming out with that. Like, we don't really think of the world in terms of imperialist spheres of influence anymore like we did 200 years ago. But
Yeah.
it's not,
But
he
what if
didn't
we
invent
did?
it. It's not
Yeah.
new because Donald Trump is here. And of
Yeah.
course, I mean, I still think pound for pound, we're getting closer. Every day we get closer. But I still think pound for pound, war for war, George W. Bush is the worst modern president. Like, I know that's kind of a third rail. Like, a lot of Democrats already feel sort of nostalgic for that piece of shit.
Well,
But
I
like,
certainly don't. I don't feel nostalgic for it.
Iraq
I understand
and
what you're saying.
Afghanistan, like using 9/11 to pull us into two devastating wars that went on and on, formalizing torture. I think a lot of that paved the way, and Dick Cheney and his sort of imperial take on the executive branch. Like, I feel like that really made Trumpism possible. And while
100%.
Trumpism is sort of on its way to destroying everything, and maybe in a year I'll look back and be like, no, that was so naive that I thought George W. Bush was worse. But if we called it right now,
Yeah.
I think probably GWB. And that's also, I blame a lot of the Gaza stuff on Biden. Like, if I shifted all of the Gaza Holocaust stuff to Trump, that would probably put him in the win column. But I still blame, that's mostly Biden. But
Biden,
I mean,
there's a lot of people
opportunity to stop that, and he chose not to.
There's a lot of stuff I wish Biden had. Oh my God.
We could do a whole hour on that.
If we just buried that guy under the prison, if we just said, no, you do an insurrection, you don't see daylight again. Sorry, man.
It's very obvious. There's a reason. Like, South Korea right now.
Yes.
Yep. The president who declared martial law is on trial. He already has been convicted. Now we're just waiting to find out the sentence. And death is on the table. And here's what's scary. I was reading about this. They don't even have the death penalty. The death penalty was outlawed like 20 years ago in South Korea. They're like potentially going to bring it back just for this guy because he did a coup, and you can't do a coup.
And that's what I'm talking about, is that there's this sense of privilege in this country about a class of individuals that it's one of those, like, I guess we can't do, if this person does something, I guess we can't do anything about it. And that's how people treat America, where it's kind of like, well, if only there was something we could do. I'm like, I think there are levers you can pull. Why don't you try some? Let's try some of them. Like,
I think all of this, all of the present, I mean, it's already cracking. Like, he's historically unpopular. The Greenland stuff couldn't be less popular. The ICE stuff couldn't be less popular. People still really want to know about them Epstein files. Like, that hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
The numbers are already not looking good for him. The thing that needs to crack is, I think, something will happen. And I'm not saying I hope for this or I want this. I don't. Yeah. But I think at some point, one of these horrible decisions is going to really break something that people value. Like, the tariffs are going to...
Maybe you get rid of the guy that runs the Fed and
you
change interest rates.
The tariffs are going to completely crash the economy. He's going to start arresting too many people in too many communities. He's going to start arresting rival politicians, and people will get the message that it's fascism. Like, something bad, like another country is going to declare war on us, or NATO's going to kick us out, or like something will happen. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's going to take that will get massive. Like, we already got people in the streets. I think we're going to get 10x the number of people in the streets, and then Congress will have no choice but to start taking steps, because Congress has just yielded all. They could remove him. They could do a lot about this at any time. They just don't want to. And I don't mean just Republicans. Like,
100%.
Charlie Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries won't do anything. Like, you've got John Fetterman doing press conferences where he's like, I think it's great. Like, they're not doing it. Like, Congress has given up. They've yielded all their authority. If they decided not to, this could be over in literal days.
And it's crazy to me. Why? That's something I don't. That's kind of one of the things I don't understand.
They're
Why
afraid of it. They're afraid.
but at
He
this
is a
point, what are
mob
you?
boss. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't
I
like
get
organized
that,
crime. He's got
but it's
dirt on
like,
all them, or he can ruin them
yeah.
politically, and so he's just leaning on them and pressuring them to get his way. That's how it
Because I
works.
understood that at the strength of MAGA, and if you look at the polls, there's that like what functionally is like a third of the country that is immovable. Like it is that it's calcified. It's his base. They're not changing their opinions on anything.
And that's it's psychological. It's like it would be too psychically painful for them to admit that they were wrong. That's a lot of it.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. But if I'm in Congress, it's like, well, that's just the 2/3 of them. That's 2/3 of the country that either don't give a shit or don't like this guy.
I think he's got stuff on a lot. I think he's literally like doing this like a crime boss would, or like
Yeah,
Don Corleone would. It's like you get dirt on your enemies and that gives you leverage. His whole thing is leverage. That's it. It's
yeah,
like you what does Kittrus say in Mission Impossible? You find something important to him and you squeeze. That's
yeah,
it. That is it. It's that there's no art of the deal. That's it.
yeah,
It's just like you
yeah,
get dirt on somebody. And I think that he has, whether he's in with the Russians or the intelligence community, whoever's protecting him,
yeah.
he's got dirt on a lot of people. He's got access to dirt on a lot of people.
Here's a vibe I've been feeling at the beginning of the year because a lot has happened at the beginning of the year. Speaking of, real quick, I think this is a good moment to talk about every month over my podcast network, Only Stupid Answers. I choose a charity of the month, and I think this was a good opportunity to mention over here. And this month's charity is the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, or MIRAC. They're funding this to support Latino and Somali immigrant communities during this time of fear and intimidation from federal officials. They're also leading a movement to say no more deportations and to say no more collaboration between local public safety officials and federal ICE officers. There will be links in the description for that if you want to check that out. And also always check out orgs in your area because everybody's hurting all over. So look at ways to help your specific community. But with all the stuff going on, like really at the beginning of the year, I've had a sense of like, it really feels like stripping the copper wires out of the house. Like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like an end run. Like it feels like, and maybe this is a kind of like a defensive response of like, well, we can't keep going like this. You know what I mean? So it's like there's got to be, but it feels like there's some ticking clock that they're. I don't know. It makes me. I guess what I'm trying to articulate is I'm wondering what the end game is in their mind.
I don't want to say too much, but
Yeah.
I don't think that the reality from what I've heard, and
Yeah.
I'm more plugged in now than I was to right wing podcast circles through my job.
Yeah.
From what I understand, up until a few months ago, there was really no thought about what happens when this ends. It was like 1,000-year Reich, we're going to be in charge forever. That Project 2020, whatever, was a huge success. We win.
Yeah. Look at Trump. He's healthier than ever. He'll last forever.
Right. And then a few months ago, Epstein, tariff mania, the polls started to slip. Inflation's still not great. The polls started to slip. And I think ever since then, there is a growing like, well, what now? And I think you can already see there's a lot of like racks scrambling, like people realizing the end is. Did you ever see that Iannucci movie, The Death of Stalin?
Oh, yeah. I've thought about it a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's really, really relevant. I feel like you can already see, because it's also clear, like, I'm not, listen, if the Secret Service is listening, I'm not saying I want anything bad to happen to the president. God bless the president of the United States. But I think that just look in his eyes, does Don live out the term? I wouldn't say it's a strong possibility. I think maybe he's got a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 chance. So I think you already start to see jockeying for like what happens next, and will the center of this thing hold? Like I don't know. I think that's a dawning realization a lot of people are having looking at these numbers, because it's like what are they? They're scrambling. I think you could tell that they're scrambling.
Yeah.
These things aren't popular. Like, what's going to put them over the line? Maybe they'll try to steal it again, and maybe they'll be more effective. Like, they could pass some quickie laws and block a lot of people from voting. They're trying to do that with mail-in voting, like federally, like new rules that'll make it harder to vote by mail. But at this point, he's unpopular enough. I don't even know if that matters.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think my concern more is when we're talking about this year, we're looking towards the midterms, and I don't think they will go well for him or the conservatives. I think my concern lies more with cool. Are we going to get like any Democrats that actually want to do something about anything? Are we going
I mean, I think,
to? Do we have a few little more Mamdanis waiting in the wings?
yeah, at this point, I think stem the bleeding, and the one thing is hopefully they learned from last time that if you do manage to get a little inroads here, you don't Merrick Garland it. You don't
Yeah.
think like, well, phew, that's over with. No need to
Yeah.
prosecute anybody or do anything like. And I think more and more Democrats are starting to say that. Like even Tim
Yeah.
Walz the other day was like, take photos of these ICE guys if you can, because one day we're going to actually
Yes,
prosecute.
I saw that.
And like,
I saw that.
yeah, I think you need to constantly repeat that and not let the Chuck Schumers of the world, because they will try to back out because they're
Yeah.
cowards or they're
Yeah.
complicit. Like at this point, I feel like Chuck Schumer might be like, this is cool. I'm good with this. Like,
Yeah.
you might just be complicit. I think that's worth. I don't know if it could possibly be ranking competence at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just maybe like secretly right on. Like
Yeah.
let's get rid of 20 million people, and maybe that'll help.
He's like
things.
my portfolio is looking great. I'm
Yeah,
getting all
no,
the tips
I
I
mean,
need.
I think
I'm
that's
getting all the
all
stock
that
tips.
I don't think he's an idiot, which means
Yeah.
there's not a lot of other options. It's like
Yeah.
one of the. It's sort of a idiot or collaborator is sort of where we're at.
Okay, so going back to our predictions, are we invading Greenland in 2026? And by we, I mean the United States.
I mean, honestly, I think that there's a possibility, but I think it's more likely that they will end up giving it to us or something. Like they'll come up with they'll come up with some weaselly way to where it's like a 10-year deal that they can roll back. They'll appease him. I think at this point, a lot of people have realized it's easier he's dumb. He's easy to flatter. He's easy to bribe, and you can do it for pretty cheap. Like I think a lot of people are sort of dawning on that, and so they'll Tim Apple it. Like show up with a plaque, give him a FIFA Peace Prize. Like you can buy him. You can buy him, and I think that's easier than actually getting around it or fighting him at this point. And I think that's the worst thing, is that he's made it easier to bribe him than oppose him. And so pragmatic people bribe him.
Yeah, and it's just one of those that when you go talk about like stuff that'll everything cracking or whatever, it's like our country went and kidnapped the Venezuelan president.
Yes,
and then we sold a bunch of that oil, and it went to a private account in Qatar.
We also
that's not raising red flags for anybody.
We also murdered at this point like hundreds of Venezuelans. We were just going to boats and being like, "That's a ship with Venezuelans on it. Kill them all." Like we were doing that for no reason. They're just with no proof. There's been
it's not even.
There was no trial, and even if there was, even if they were guilty, you're not allowed to just execute people. You arrest them and you put them on trial. That's how it works. And so, it's just we're like just going and doing murder now, like international murder.
And that's, but you and I both know that there are people that are okay with that. I think for me, I would imagine a Rubicon is, because in your mind, here's how I imagine you justifying that in your mind. You justify that by saying it's for the country. But then when he takes that oil money and puts it into his own private account in Qatar, that doesn't break your brain a little bit? That doesn't be like, oh no, this is just a thug, is what this guy is.
Hunter Biden's laptop. Here's the thing. Hunter Biden's laptop. No, I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, the double standard is just absolutely ridiculous. And listen, I say that as somebody who thinks that Hunter Biden absolutely did take bribes. Like, I don't think the laptop necessarily proves anything, but it's there. Like, there's enough of these weird little ones. Like, this rich Chinese guy gave him a $5 million bracelet. Like, there's enough of those where you're like, I don't know if he did anything. Like, I don't know if Joe Biden did anything because Hunter Biden was getting these bribes. Probably not. Hunter Biden was taking bribes, but it's on such a small scale compared to the Trump grift, the international Trump grift, which is billions of dollars at this point, just on the crypto alone.
Yeah. Oh my God. We can't even get into the crypto.
And
we can't even get into the crypto.
He's not hiding his tracks. He's just out there grifting.
Again, it's just that privilege. Just nobody's bothering to be like, I guess we're not going to pin him on this.
In the movie Casino, where it's just like a guy comes into the counting room and fills the bag of money, and then he walks right out.
I do want to take a second. Obviously, I mentioned Minnesota before. I know if we're talking about 2026 predictions, I know there, there's been rumblings. It's clear that like the Stephen Millers of the world and everything would like to do the whole martial law thing. I don't think that would work if they try, because this is a big. I mean, I guess
It's
you
a
could.
big country. It's a big.
It's big. It's not only it's a big country. I think Minneapolis is like the 46th largest city
Yeah.
in the country, and they're barely able to hold that.
I've been to Minneapolis. It's pretty big, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think this would work everywhere. It's certainly not everywhere all at once. And that's kind of what
Yeah.
I mean. Like, I feel like they're just overplaying their hand in so many ways these days that one of these things is going to get away from them. And I don't know which one it is, but
Yeah.
at least one of them at some point soon, they're not that smart. Like, they're a bunch of dum-dums. Like, Christy Nome, like Cash Patel, like these.
Yeah.
They're stupid. So they're going to lose control. Like all of them. I mean, I could have listed literally anyone. Am Bondi? Like,
Yeah.
come on. They're not smart people.
No.
One of these things is going to get away from them probably pretty soon.
I would say there's a good chance more than one.
And like, it might even be something that Trump doesn't even have direct control of. Like, what if the AI bubble really does pop and the market like tanks? He might not even have any levers of control on that. It might just happen.
Yeah.
What's he going to do? Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to declare war on, I don't know, NVIDIA. Like, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take something. Obviously, I think the precedent we've seen is it doesn't matter to Americans until it impacts them. They're fine with it until it's like, but not my small business. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to be like wiping out a whole sector of the economy, mass unemployment, being at war with a foreign power we have no reason to be at war with, something like that. And then people will be like, oh, now I'm affected. Let's get rid of him. And then that'll motivate Congress, and then maybe we get rid of him.
Last question. This is coming from the Discord from Jake Hafner. Short question, but perhaps a complicated answer. Do you think everything will be okay? Or all the doomsayers right and we're living in the series finale of America?
I think you got to define everything being okay. Like everything? No. Like already everything's not okay.
I mean, even if you're talking about going back to before 2016, everything was not okay.
I mean, if you're an immigrant in America, right now is not okay. Like, or if you're just in the city of Minneapolis, honestly. So I think you have to qualify that. I mean, is it the end of America? I think often assumes that's bad. I don't know. I don't know. Like, what comes up? What happens in the aftermath of the American project is like an idea that honestly at this point might be worth exploring. Like, I don't know, maybe we divide into regional powers that would be more appropriate and balanced, like I'm not one of those, like, I think there should be a civil war and like, let's split I think that's a dumb blue state thing. Like, oh, we should just kick Texas out. Like, as a person who lives in Texas, especially, let's not do that. But I don't know if the United States of America is like at this point the best possible. We'd have to explore some other ideas. So I don't know if that would be like, is it the end of human civilization? Like, I don't think so.
I think, a theme that we've touched on a lot is that we are in a moment of change. And I think there are a lot of forces aligned, a lot of big money forces aligned into making that change very beneficial to them at the expense of the rest of us. And so that makes, I would assume people like me, very concerned about that. But the good thing is, and an opportunity of change is, we are not, people like Trump and the Ellisons and everything are operating as if they are the only ones that get to have a say, the Elon Musks of the world. And the truth is, we all get a say too in what that change looks like. And I think Lon's mentioned a few times, and I think there's a lot of truth to this, that at least one of the things will break. I think there's a good likelihood that because these are not very bright people and they are pushing very hard in a lot of different directions, that more than one thing will break. And unfortunately, that it will probably break in a way, there's that phrase, fuck around and find out. We're in an unfortunate position where these people get to fuck around and it's kind of the rest of us that get to find out. But maybe they'll get to find out too. Maybe we can make it so they find out too. Point being is that in in that upheaval, in that change, there will be a lot of bad things. There already are a lot of bad things, but that provides us an opportunity to do good things as well and to push things in a better direction. And as long as you were kind of mentioning this idea of what if the end of the American empire, that might provide us an opportunity to, I mean, credit where it's due. Trump has proven that there really isn't any barriers to do the good things too. Like if you could just run a train on all this stuff, there's nothing really apparently stopping from doing good things. And so that could be an opportunity to reshape the American experiment in a way that benefits Americans and benefits the people here and benefits more people here. And while I think it's important that you don't put people too much on a pedestal, because people are people and they're complicated and there's a lot of facets there, I am grateful in this moment for people like Mamdani who are like, hey, you could do good things. Like you could just do the good things. And I hope that it sets an example for more people that not only can the government be used to do good things, but the government is already doing good things that are working so well that we don't even think about them. So we don't even know to appreciate them until somebody like Trump comes along and breaks them and these services aren't working. So I think we're in for a bumpy ride. I'm holding out hope for a shorter rather than longer bumpy ride, and one that is that there's already such a human toll here that, and I think this is wishful thinking on my part, but I would like it to not get much further than it is. I hope that, I mean, to me, like you were talking about, like what's at some point they're going to hit a line for a lot of people. It's like, I can't believe, I've already mentioned this. I can't believe we haven't already hit it. I can't believe we haven't already hit that line. But hopefully we'll hit it sooner rather than later. Hopefully that provides an opportunity to not go back to the way things were. Because Lon, you mentioned Bush, and we talked about Biden, but like there's stuff with Obama, there's stuff with these problems have been building. They're not new to Trump. He's just utilizing them in a way that is just nakedly evil, basically, in a way that we're not used to. And so maybe that we can make this is an opportunity for things to get better. And as opposed to being nihilistic or optimistic, we get to make the decisions to either make things better or worse. So hopefully we'll be able to take those opportunities to make things better. That's my answer to that question.
I think that's fair, but let's hope.
Let's hope.
Definitely work out that way. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. We will see. Lon, where can the kids find what you're working on?
Oh, you can follow me on, I still call it Twitter. You may know it as X, at LONS. And if you want to check out This Week in Startups, I'm actually in the new year. I was sort of more behind the scenes last year, but I will be hosting the show along with Jason every Friday. So tune in. We're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're live at noon, and then it goes up on podcasting platforms and YouTube later on in the day, or Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen or watch podcasts, you can find us. So that would be that.
Check that out. There will be links in the description. As I mentioned before, you guys are listening to this on my personal channel, or you might be, I put the audio feeds on the OSA channel, but be sure to check out Only Stupid Answers. If you want to support shows like this, you can do that at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. And I appreciate all the people that support this show. And Lon, thank you for taking the time to join me.
Always a pleasure.
And we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.